Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Emily. Today's video is a thrift flip video, and these items are ranging from recently thrifted to items that I've had in my stash for probably close to a year. They've just been waiting there for me to get the inspiration that I needed, and I finally got it. So we're gonna hop right into these projects, and at the end of this video, I do have a clip of my booth. I did a little refresh over the weekend, so I wanted to share that with you as well. So stick around until the end for that, and let's get started on these projects. For our first project, we're going to be working with this giant candlestick, for lack of a better word. I mean, it is very large. It's about 16 inches tall. It is ceramic and heavy. I only had one, so I got this from an estate sale like almost a year ago. There was a larger one that was with it, but it was severely broken and damaged, and I really didn't want to have to figure out how to fix that. So I just got this one, and that's why I set it aside, because I had no idea what I wanted to do with this single giant candlestick. Well, I finally decided that I wanted to turn this into a plant stand. So I wanted to create kind of like a stone type of base with this candlestick. So I grabbed this Krylon stone textured spray paint in the charcoal sand color, gave it a couple coats. I realized the red was going to keep coming through. So then I grabbed my almond colored spray paint and I just covered that entire candlestick with that color, so then that would become the base. And then once that dried, I did a couple light coats again with that coarse textured stone spray paint. So it all became very cohesive and none of that red was poking through. So I set it aside, let it sit for a good 24 hours, and while it was drying, I decided to figure out what I was going to use as the top of the plant stand. If I had something already in my stash or if I had to go buy something. So I did have a 12-inch wood round from Hobby Lobby, but it was too thin. It was like a quarter inch, maybe less. And I needed something thicker and more solid. So I went to Lowe's and I grabbed this 15-inch wood round. This was about $9 at Lowe's. So I took it out of its packaging, I gave it a good sand, and then I moved on to figuring out how I was going to attach this to the base. The candlestick had a little bit of a dip, so I wanted to make sure I had as much coverage as possible, and I found in my stash this wood round here. It was the perfect size, but it was too thin, so my husband ended up cutting out this piece of plywood so that we could attach it to the underside of this wood round, and then that way it would have that entire surface area to adhere to that top portion of the candlestick. And to adhere it, we are using liquid nails, and we just applied the liquid nails all over that top portion of the candlestick and then attached that piece into it. So you can see how it's going to fit. Now, the liquid nails takes a good 24 hours to dry, and we put a lot on it. So it may take even longer than 24 hours to dry. When I went to go start staining, I stained the top and everything was fine. And then I flipped it over. Everything was still fine. I started to stain the underside. And when I went to go lift it back up, it did pop off. Now, like I said, the liquid nails takes 24 hours, and at this point, it had not been 24 hours. So once I set it back aside for a little while longer and it dried, the top part dried, I just put my plant on top of it, and it is not going to move until it is fully secured. I love how this plant stand turned out, and I'm so glad that I kept it in my stash for as long as I did until I came up with this idea. This candlestick was so large, it was throwing me off. So if you find a large candlestick at a thrift store, or maybe you have one in your stash, try turning it into a plant stand and see if that works for you. For this project, we're going to be giving this figurine a makeover. So I thrifted this, I think they're partridges. I'm not quite sure, but I thrifted this not too long ago, and I really love the faux concrete look on figurines like this. So that is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to start with 2 coats of this black chalk paint by Behr. It is the basic black chalk paint that is already mixed at the store. I get it from Home Depot, and it's like $20. Maybe it's gone up $1 or $2, but it's a really good price for the amount that you get, and it has really good coverage. I love this color. I've used it on furniture pieces. Like I said, I just really like this color. Once this piece dried, I decided that I was going to dry brush instead of using white wax on this piece to bring out all of the detail on the raised areas. So for the dry brushing, I'm just using white chalk paint, and I'm going to offload as much of the paint as I can from the paintbrush onto the cardboard before I start brushing onto this piece. And I'm going to do that all over until I'm happy with it. And then I decided I wanted to add a little extra dimension, a little extra color. So I grabbed a light gray and I did the same exact dry brushing. I didn't go all over, I just did it in certain areas. And I realized that the light gray that I picked was really light, like almost matching the white color chalk paint. So it really didn't add as much dimension as I thought it was going to, but that's okay. It still looked really good, and I decided to seal it. I was going to use just the Rust-Oleum clear matte spray versus wax. There's so much like detail in this piece, and there were going to be harder areas for me to reach with waxing, so I decided I was just going to use a clear coat. That worked perfectly fine. I did 2 coats, and then this piece is done. For our final project, we have this cast iron cross. It is really heavy. It's really pretty. I actually had it in my booth for a really long time, probably close to like 8 months, and it never sold. So I decided to bring it home and give it a makeover. And I decided that I was going to use this beautiful antebellum blue by Dixie Belle. I have used this on a couple of my flips recently. I just love this blue color so much, and I'm trying to put it on as many small pieces as I can, and I thought this cross was going to be so pretty. So I gave it 1 coat, and I gave a little bit of touch up where it was needed. I made sure obviously to do the back and the sides because this piece can be hung up or it can be, laid down somewhere. So I wanted to make sure that it was fully painted. And once that dried, I wanted to do white wax on it. So the first thing that I did was I applied clear wax. I will say, I don't know if I didn't let it dry long enough or what, but as I was applying the clear wax, when I went to go wipe the clear wax off or buff it out, the blue paint was coming off with it. So like I said, I'm not sure if I didn't wait long enough for it to dry. I mean, I didn't wait super long. Like I didn't wait 24 hours, that's for sure. But maybe next time if I were to do something like this, I would do a clear coat, like a clear spray first, and then go on to the white wax just so that that piece was sealed. But it didn't affect anything. I just wanted to make that note. So then I applied the white wax, and I made sure to apply it everywhere before I buffed it off. Now, in the process of buffing it off, there were some areas that did rub completely back to show the original finish of it. And at first I was kind of bummed, but then I embraced it and I decided that I was going to incorporate those areas with some of the metallic finishes that I have in my stash. So I have these metallic, like bronze and black waxes, I think they are, but they definitely are more for like finishing pieces. I've used them before. I used the coppery bronze one on, this is the ice espresso that I'm talking about when I say coppery bronze. I used that on a recent furniture flip and it was really pretty on the decal that I made. So I'm adding this first to the raised areas on the cross, and that was very similar to that brown color or tan color that was on the cross originally that was kind of peeking through. And then I finished it up with some of the black metallic that I have because some of the black had popped through as well. So, you know, when things like this happen, if it can be embraced, embrace it. And I think it added a lot more to this piece than the original just white wax that I was originally planning. So it was more of like a happy accident. And this piece is done. After this, I'm going to take you to my booth. I recently sold the dresser that I had in my booth. I'd had that in my booth for quite some time, and I was actually planning on bringing it home with me shortly to give it a refresh, and then it ended up selling. So I was very grateful for that. And then the wonderful staff that is at Twin Rivers, they rearranged my booth once the dresser was removed to help with the flow and so that it wasn't a mess. So when I got there, that is how this looked. And I thought it was so wonderful how they had it set up that the items that I brought in, I just tagged them, put them in place, and I did rearrange a few of the small pieces, but the larger pieces I kept how they had arranged it because I thought they did such a wonderful job. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and let me know what your favorite flip was. My favorite has to be the plant stand. I have been trying to incorporate more living plants in my home and getting rid of some of the faux ones, so I'm really excited to be able to add this piece to my home so I can add a plant to it. So let me know your favorite in the comments, and if you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please consider subscribing. It really helps my channel and it's a free way to help my channel, so I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys.